What's up, everyone? Welcome to Kamurocho Bros, and today we're finally doing this. We're finally doing this Yakuza games tier list that we've been talking about for so long. I'm excited. Welcome to the stream, King. How are you doing today? Are you excited for this tier list?
I'm excited, man. You know me. I'm always up to talk some Yakuza. I hope everyone's had a good holiday. We haven't really made a video since David's last video in December. Hope everyone had a safe holiday. Hope you enjoy time with your loved ones. But now it's time to shit talk about some RGG. No, more like we're going to be praising it a lot, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Lots of praise for today. Lots of good things. I do want to mention two little things. You mentioned the last video. Thank you all for the massive support. We're like almost 4,000 views on that video, which is insane. A lot of new subscribers coming in, so welcome to all of you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for enjoying the content. It means a lot because we're just two passionate guys enjoying some Yakuza talk, so it's always great.
This is just strictly going to be mainline Yakuza. We're not going to rate Ishin. We're not going to rate Judgment. We are going to rate Yakuza 0 through Like a Dragon. So that's just one caveat going into this.
Yep, and the final disclaimer that I wanted to say before is the thumbnail was clickbait. So this is not the official list that you saw on the thumbnail, for those wondering, because I got some reactions already for that. So yeah, thumbnail, that made you click. So we
this motherfucker here, I want to tell y'all something right quick before we start this. This motherfucker sent me the thumbnail when I brought him this idea right here. He sent me the thumbnail for the video. I'm like, why the fuck is Like a Dragon all the way down there?
No, so that made you guys click, but this is not the official list. And as you said, all mainline games. I'm ready to do this. Are you ready, man?
I'm ready. Let's go and get started. The first game that we have right here is Yakuza Kiwami. So we're not doing Yakuza 1 and Yakuza 2, the regular ones. We're starting right off with Kiwami. I never played Yakuza 1, the regular one on PS2. Did you, David?
Nah. Okay. Not to completion. I tried it, but not to completion.
It's aged terribly. I will say that. But Kiwami 1, your overall thoughts on it, David, and where would you rank it? I want to hear your thoughts.
Now we're looking at the games as standalone games, right?
Yes.
We're not going to rank them because of what happened in other games. Oh, spoilers warning too for this video. Like, obviously, we're going to talk spoilers for the most of these, so spoilers warning. It's hard to say. I mean, I do think Kiwami did a lot of great things for the series, and it deserves some points for that. But in terms of like the story and gameplay, especially gameplay, it's in the lower tiers in my opinion. That being said, it introduced some of our favorite characters of all time. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling,
Do you want to know, and you might not like this, David, the thing that holds Kiwami back for me was the Majima Everywhere system. I see what they were trying to do with it, but you just face Majima too many times, and that kind of softens it whenever you do face him in the main story. To me.
I mean, yeah, you told me that before. Yeah, that's one thing that we're not on the same page about because of that. But I get your complaint, and I think it's fair.
Don't get me wrong. Some of the shit that you can get into with Majima, he appears from the sewers and everything. It's hilarious. But at the same time, and when you hear in the background, Kiryu-chan just walking down the street. Oh my god,
it's so great. Yeah, but I think the issue is, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the reason why I enjoyed this and you didn't, I think it's because you know how I play my Yakuza games? Like, I beat chapter 1 in like 10 hours for the most part. I always do all the side stuff. So I think that's possibly the reason why. Like, I'm not just going through the story like you're doing for most games. Like, I know you're doing some of the side stuff, but you're not doing everything. So it may felt like you were interrupted too often, and I wasn't. If that makes sense. I think that's possibly one of the reasons why you didn't appreciate that mechanic and I did. But still, I think the complaint is completely fair. What are you feeling for a ranking on this one?
It's hard to say. I hate that they killed off Nishiki so fast.
Yeah, great character.
He had a lot of love in Zero, so I'm glad I got to know him before that happened because of the way I played the game. The story's very solid. I see what they were aiming for, but I don't think it was fully realized. I'm probably going to go B.
Yeah, I was thinking C. So B works. B C. I think for this one is a good. And
Lower
again, for
B.
tier list, we're always gonna move them for the most part.
Oh,
Once we
definitely.
place the other ones, we may move them. So
And this is all subjective, guys. This is just our opinion. If you have differing opinions than us, please let us know in the comment section, but please keep it civil. We're talking about Japanese video games, not real life situations here.
oh yeah, totally. Plus, if it's a Yakuza game in D, it's still good because it's still a Yakuza
Right.
games and they're all good. Like I like all the games on that list, but it's just in terms of a Yakuza game, where does it rank? Like Kiwami, that game's like a solid 8.5 for me, but it's still B tier because it's a Yakuza tier list. So
Now,
yeah,
on the
just keep
other
that in
side
mind.
of it, for me personally, Yakuza Kiwami 2 comes out right after, and it uses the Dragon engine from Yakuza 6 and everything. Yakuza Kiwami used the one from Yakuza 5 and Yakuza 0. Kiwami 2 used the Dragon engine from Yakuza 6. And if you want my opinion right off the bat, I thought it was much better done than Kiwami. It had so many more memorable moments to me, at least. I love the setting of it. I think the combat was amazing. I love the characters. To me, it's just overall a stronger entry, but I'm going to get your thoughts on that.
I agree. I mean, when I played Kiwami 2, it was at launch, and it did struggle a little bit on my base PS4. That was the first time seeing the Dragon Engine in action. Looked great. Didn't play as great at first. Now, I did replay the game later on PlayStation 5 this last year, and it runs great now. It's great on PS5. It works fine. The slowdowns aren't as consistent, and I think it was the same thing on PS4 Pro. It was just an optimization thing because if you play Like a Dragon on base PS4, it doesn't struggle anymore. So yeah, I mean, it has some issues. It did great, especially in the story department. I think it's a big improvement.
David, I want to get your thoughts on Ryuji Goda, the antagonist for Kiwami 2.
So yeah, Ryuji Goda, he's a very, very good character. Just the Omi overall in that game is great. The story was great. The pacing was way better than in the first game, in my opinion, as well. And as you mentioned, of course, Dragon Engine was a big improvement. Like the visuals, when you go from Kiwami 1 to Kiwami 2, it's insane. I wasn't a big fan of the combat at first because it was a little bit more slow than Kiwami 1. But looking back on it, it certainly is the better game in my opinion. Definitely amongst the better games in the series. In my
And
opinion.
let's not forget Majima's story that they added into Kiwami 2 as well. You played that one, correct?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Where he goes back and meets that girl from Yakuza 0. Her name slipped off my mind right now, but
In a while, Zero, I haven't played it in years.
it's such a touching story, and you get to see what happens afterwards. I thought that was a nice addition. Also, one of the only times that you can actually play as Majima in the Yakuza games. So,
Yep.
David, your ranking for Kiwami 2.
A.
A?
Would be mine. Yep.
Okay.
It's not S. It's not perfect. It's not in my top 3 personally, but it's very solid.
I think we're both in agreement there. A rank for Kiwami 2. Marvelous game. Marvelous game. Now, Yakuza 3, I know it says remastered, but they're basically the exact same thing. This might be a little more controversial.
Interesting one.
I love Yakuza 3. You get to
so
see a
do I.
side of Kiryu that we don't normally see him running his orphanage. Some people might say it's a lot slower pace, and they would be right.
Yep.
But I think that there is a reason for that. And it's a lot shorter than other Yakuza games as well. But
It
I don't
is.
think it overstates its welcome. I don't think the Dad Kiryu story overstates its welcome. I love Yakuza 3. I want to know your thoughts on it, though.
Well, first up, I always bring it up. You guys that have been watching the videos and streams for a good while now on Kamurocho Bros, you probably know that I'm a massive fan of this side content in those games. 3, 4, and 5, in that generation, they stopped focusing on that side content, especially the sub stories. They're very, very, very not as good as 0, 1, and 2. So for that reason, it drops points for sure. As you mentioned, though, the main story is a good, in my opinion. It's really, really solid. I don't mind seeing that different facet of Kiryu, Haruka, and how grown up she is was really great as well. The new city that you're in, the new characters, and just overall the themes and setting are very great. I really enjoyed the game, in my opinion. Solid game.
But the side content is kind of what makes you kind of, would that lower your ranking?
Oh, totally, because it's really important for me. So for 3, 4, and 5, that's applicable to the 3 of them. The side content really isn't as good as in all the other games. The gameplay is really not as good as well. The combat is like, it's clunky versus the other ones. It didn't age as well.
But this was also like the first time. This is their leap into a new console generation. Yeah. You got to see the open world. The world didn't have to load as you walked through it. It wasn't separated or anything. Mm-hmm. So it definitely had some growing pains. But I think that's kind of what gives it its charm to me. The story, and the fact that really good. And the fact that it set the precedent for what Yakuza was going to be in the future to me does it for me. So how would you rank it?
I mean, I'd say between B and C, that's where I would put it. I'm not comfortable putting it above Kiwami personally, but I can see it being like lower tier B if that's what you have in mind.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, I think that's fine personally.
Let's go
because
with
it did a lot of good things. Like, to be honest, the overall story is possibly better than Kiwami, in my opinion. But Kiwami did so many things better than 3. So yeah, I think that's a good placement.
Now, on to another game, Yakuza 4, right quick. I don't have a lot of fond memories with 4. It wasn't my favorite game, in my opinion. You probably have a lot more to say about it than I do, so I'm going to let you take this away for the most part, David.
Yeah, I did replay 3, 4, and 5 in 2021, so they're fresh in my mind. I do have a lot of issues with 4 as well. That being said, the game introduced Akiyama, one of the best characters that RGG ever made, in my opinion. He's awesome. And Sojima, another character that is really, really great, in my opinion, that you don't like yourself. I do.
I don't care about. I do not care about Sojima.
It's fine. I get your issues with them, but these two characters, they're, in my opinion, really, really great. I don't really care about the detective guy. I know he's liked in the community. A lot of people like his character. I really don't. Overall, I think the biggest flaws against that game, and it needs to, it really needs to lose a lot of points because of that, is the useless padding and the terrible pacing. It drags on, and man, the chapters don't have to be that long. It's rough. I feel like they tried to. I feel like they should have introduced some of the new characters in 4 and other new characters in 5. Not all of them all at once in the same game. That was a little bit too much, in my opinion. And just in terms of gameplay and visuals, it's just not an improvement over 3. So, it's my least favorite.
I see what they were trying to aim for, trying to take everything off of Kiryu, not make him the main attraction. But that's what fine. We love about Yakuza, though. Kiryu is it. Now, Akiyama, yes. I love him. He's the GOAT. Love Akiyama. Love him to death. I'm sorry, but I just can't get into Sajima's character. You get to see him break out of the prison and everything in 4, and I'm just not engaged with
That's
this.
Another good point. The prison section, that's too long. That's way too long. And I get that they're building up this whole thing, but it's too long. It doesn't have to be that long. That's the thing. Great idea. Multiple characters. Great idea. Poorly executed, in my opinion. So, just in terms of story overall, I don't think it's as good as 3, personally. I know that's going to be controversial, too. So
I will say the final boss fight as well, when you play as all the characters, drags on as well. Because I remember you have to switch between the 4 characters and everything and fight. And oh my god, I was just like, just make this fucking end already. Not that I didn't like the game, but it's just like dragging on. It totally felt. Yakuza 3, I think, served a purpose, showing a different side of Kiryu and everything. You know, RGG made it with a purpose. 4 just kind of seems tacked on, except for the Akiyama stuff. So, personally, David, I give it a C.
Yep.
Are we in agreement?
That's perfectly fine with me. Yep. I mean, in terms of pacing and just the fact that it's dragging on, I would say Yakuza 4 is the Persona 3 of Yakuza games.
Oof! Oof! Jesus.
But I mean, it's like, I don't need to be spending 4 hours on the same floor of Tartarus. Well, I don't need to spend 4 hours talking in a jail cell with Saijima, you know? It's like, it's terrible example, but I'm sure you get where I'm coming from. It's just...
The prison break stuff was just unnecessary. It just dragged
plus
on
the
too long.
idea is good. Like, the idea is good to break out of the prison and all that stuff. I think it's good, but poorly executed. I don't need to spend 3 chapters in prison. God, that was boring.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, that's one of the reasons I don't like Saijima that much.
Speaking of boring and Saijima in 5, the hunting sessions.
Man,
God, that has to be the worst section in all the Yakuza games.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Yakuza 5 now, and our distaste for Saijima's hunting section. I swear to God, I was trying to marathon all the games that time. And I was having a lot of fun with it. But those sections, you have to go like hunt deer and shit, and it's just...
Oh, dude.
It could have been told as like a side thing. He's like, oh, he spent his time here in the country or in the mountains or something.
Yeah,
and
good point.
went... Yeah, but
once again, great idea, poorly executed in my opinion. It just felt like they wanted to do too much. Too much. I don't need to be buying bullets and then borrowing a gun and equipment to go onto deer. It's like, I get it. I got lost. I ended up on a mountain, spoke with a couple of people, got into a fight or two, and then I leave. That would have been good enough because the idea, I like it. Poorly executed.
And let's just say this right quick. What did you think about the Kiryu taxi driver missions?
Didn't mind. I really did. Felt different. Once again, another Kiryu. No, I kind of liked it. I think just what you had to go through with all the characters, except for Saijima, were way better than in 4. The story's way better. In terms of story pacing, except for that little section with the hunting, I think it's better than 4. I really do. A lot better, too.
Now, let me praise Yakuza 5 for a second, and I think you know where I'm going with this, David. As a 5th protagonist. Now, I know that they also have this baseball character on 5 as well. He's a baseball star. I didn't really care for his story or anything. I just thought he was just kind of there. But they also add Haruka as a playable character in Yakuza 5. And with that comes a new form of missions. Haruka is now an idol. You get to play a rhythm game during it. And you know me, the rhythm game simp here. I absolutely adored those sections. That game to me, those sections deserve an S rating. I love the idol stuff. I absolutely love the music. It was all so well done for me. I want to get your thoughts on the Haruka sections.
I liked them. The storyline, the Haruka storyline is possibly the best one after Akiyama in 5, in my opinion. I did message you when I replayed 5 last year. I do think there's too many missions, if that's what they're called, where you dance and just overall the contest and all. I think it's a little too long. I think it drags on once again, which is a common issue in 4 and 5. I think the Haruka section is a little too long. But all the characters are really great. Her coach and the way she dies and all is really, really great. Personally, adored it, to be honest.
And
the
I will
ending
say, yes, yes,
is legendary. Like,
I
it
cried.
all comes together. It's like, yeah, me too. The first time, me too. It's like, nah, it all comes together. You play 4, you play 5, and you're like, man, that's really long. It's I've been playing those stories for like 70 hours. But then you get that ending, and you're like, ooh, yep. Very good, very solid. I
cried, man. When Kiryu was in the snow and everything, trying to make his way back, and Haruka finds him. That, man, I was legit crying. I thought Yakuza 5 is an unnecessarily long game.
Yeah, it had to be that long. But still, I think there's issues. But yeah.
What would you rate it?
I'll put it right after Kiwami 2. In that
An A?
Right after, yeah. What do you think?
I think low A, top B. So let's put it in A. Shit.
That's or before Kiwami 1. As long as it's before Kiwami 1, I don't mind. Not 2, 1. In B. That or behind 2, as you wish. I don't mind.
How about right there?
That works.
That works for me. I love Yakuza 5, specifically for the Haruka sections. Love those, loved her story. Her, growing up, knowing that Kiryu's always there for her, knowing that he always loved her. I thought it was just amazing. But that's just my opinion. But we're going to move on right quick to Yakuza 6, another controversial title in the series.
I do want to mention one thing, though, before we get into 6. 6 is the game that I played when it came out. I never replayed it. So it's been a while. It's really been a while. I'm about to replay it. I'm about to.
Well,
but it's been a while. So I'm gonna let you lead the way for this one, and I'm just gonna comment because it's been a really long time and I don't remember much about it. I remember
will say this,
Haruka's involvement and the general story plots, but it's been a while.
Right. Haruka has the baby and everything. They try to save it and all that stuff. It focuses specifically on Kiryu, which I enjoyed personally. I thought it was cool going back to just a story about him, and it was his quote-unquote last story and everything. It was the first, like Yakuza 3, it was kind of a change in the series. Yakuza 6 was the first game to use the Dragon Engine. It had its growing pains on PS4. It didn't run too well at first. I know I had some issues when I first played it.
Oh, me too.
I thought the story...
PS4.
Right. I thought the story was kind of It was there. I had fun with the combat, even though it had its hiccups. But I kind of felt like the ending was kind of just... It was alright. Kiryu just walks away and everything. Saves Haruka and everything. Her baby. And he just walks away. I mean, it was alright. I think it kind of fell flat for me, but what did you think of Yakuza 6? It's been a while since I played it too, but...
Oh yeah, me too. But I'll have to agree about that part, like how it ends and everything. It's like... It feels forced a little bit, but at the same time, it had to end. I want to complain about it, but I don't really know what else they could have done to make it better. So I don't feel comfortable complaining that much about it. But again... New additions in terms of gameplay. The soundtrack is potentially one of the best in the whole series.
Yes.
The karaoke songs and all, they're really great. So for that reason, it's really good. Like the soundtrack is it's really solid.
Today is a Diamond's a fucking banger.
Yes, totally. So yeah, I mean, that one's hard, man. I was thinking about it before we started, and I'm like, man, I don't know. I really don't know.
I put it above 4. In my opinion. I put it personally above 4.
Yeah.
It's more memorable to me than 4 was. At least it served a purpose.
No, I agree. 3 though?
I like it better than 3. I mean, no, I like 3 better than Yakuza 6.
Yeah, right? I was debating putting it in front of 3 or after 3, but I'm comfortable putting it behind 3.
I think 3 served a purpose. And I think 6 served a purpose as well, which is why I put it above Yakuza 4. But it's still in that C tier. It wasn't too memorable to me.
In C tier?
Yeah.
That's behind 4, not 3.
Does it go like that?
That works.
There we go.
All right. No, that works. That works for me.
But
it's sad, too, because I had, like... I think it's one of the only times when I played the game at first and was a little disappointed. I was like, man, okay. That's all. But
I will say this, though. The premium edition gave us some really cool whiskey glasses.
Yeah, which I don't have that I don't have that collector's edition.
The collector's edition was fucking awesome because it gave you actual whiskey glasses with dragon stuff on it and some cubes to put in there as well with some
no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'd like to have it, but yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to also another new era of Yakuza gameplay, using the same engine, the Dragon Engine, but different combat mechanics, very vastly different. Yakuza Like a Dragon. David, I think I already know what our answer is going to be, but I want you to lead this because we're both very knowledgeable about Like a Dragon, but I want you to lead it.
Like a Dragon, aka the game that I bought a Series X for, aka Game of the Year 2020, aka S tier easily. I mean, it introduced a new cast of characters. They're all fantastic. Just the right amount of fan service as well. Just enough to give me the chills at a few occasions. Banger soundtracks. All the tracks are great. And dude, combat system. That new combat system, the switch from a brawler to turn-based it works too well, in my opinion. It works too well. I was not expecting it to be so good. It works really well. It's well balanced, challenging, but not too challenging. Man, so great. One of the best stories in all of Yakuza 2, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like, easily. The ending theme as well, the credits theme is like my favorite song in all of Yakuza, easily. So, nah, dude, it's an easy S tier for me, easily.
Me too. A lot of people don't say this about Like a Dragon either, and I don't think I've even told this to you, but I feel like a Dragon handles its multiple protagonists the best out of the entire series.
Yep.
Sometimes
totally.
the pacing's totally off, especially with 4 or 5 with the multiple protagonists. I think Like a Dragon handles that excellently. The characters' backstories, I care about all the characters. All of them. Love them all. And I didn't have high expectations for Ichiban going into the game. I'm like, oh, they're replacing Kiryu? Really? Y'all replacing Kiryu? But man, they just took the ball and ran with it with Ichiban. I love him. He's a lovable dork. Absolutely blew me away, and that makes Yakuza 8 my most anticipated game as of right now. But combat system's almost flawless. There is a little blemish in the game where there's a certain level cap that you have to reach, and you have to go grind in a little tower. I kind of had an issue with that. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. It wasn't an issue for me though, because I did all the side content, like all of it. I got I don't know what's the equivalent of a platinum trophy for Xbox, but I got this thing for Xbox where I got all the achievements. So I was high level enough because of that. But I've heard the complaint from multiple people, not just you. So, but again, I don't want to defend. Some people are gonna say it's bullshit, and I won't go against you. If that's what you think, that's fine. I think it kind of comes with turn-based RPGs.
Oh,
for the most part.
no,
a
yeah.
little bit of grinding. So.
I don't mind having to grind a little bit. It was just like the fact that I had to spend like 5-6 hours in that one tower. It was just like excruciating almost. But it's a good thing that the combat was so much fun.
Yeah, totally. Really, really fun. Quick parentheses here. What is the fight that gave you the most trouble? Again, spoilers warning, potentially.
The fight that gave me the most trouble was, that sequence between, I think it was Majima and then Saejima comes in.
Yeah, same for me.
My God.
That fight was rough, man.
And I'm like, Saejima, why is he so hard? Fuck Saejima. But I will say this.
The dude killed a whole gang by himself.
Right.
In 4 or 5. Like, he's strong. Like, I know you hate the man, but he's strong.
And I will say Majima's theme in Like a Dragon is the battle theme. Just
insane, yeah.
almost shit.
But I mean, like the first boss, or I don't know if he's the first boss, Babuchi, his theme, like, ooh, it goes like dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun,
Yes.
It's so good. It slaps from start to finish, and it kind of you guys can correct me if we're wrong. I think it potentially has the same composer as the Judgment games, because it's so similar in terms of soundtrack, especially Lost Judgment. Like Lost Judgment and Like a Dragon, they share a lot of things in terms of soundtrack. I have to research for that. I'm not sure, but it potentially has the same.
But I will say this, Like a Dragon, not that I wasn't, against the series or anything, but I think it rekindled my love for the Yakuza series 1000%, and I could not be more excited about the future. I don't know how they can improve upon it. It's like, how do you improve upon perfection? I mean,
it's one of the rare games where it deserves a 10 out of 10, in my opinion. Like, when I put it down, I was like, oh my God.
Now,
oh my God.
Speaking of 10 out of 10s, Yakuza 0 is the last game we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I could go on all day about how much I love 0. Might be a little biased. It's the game that got me into the series, even though it has a slow start to it. I think it's the perfect game to get you into the series. I did not expect it. It came out of nowhere. And my love for the Yakuza series and RGG as a whole grew from this one game. So, personally, S tier. Is it better than Like a Dragon? Let's discuss that. But before we do, David, thoughts on Yakuza 0?
I just want to add, yes, the story may be a little bit slow at first, but I want to add that once it kicks, it kicks. And it never slows down 1 second afterwards. Yakuza 0 is the game that will make you like excited to play more, to learn more about the story. You'll be scared at times, like, holy crap, I'm about to fight that guy in the tunnel. He's on a fucking motorcycle. I'm about to die. Like, this is so good. It makes you feel emotional.
The 6 Kuze boss fights.
Yep. Yep. I cried in Yakuza 0. The soundtrack is insane as well. They have a better look at Majima as a character, and his old storyline is crazy. You get to see what made him that way in the other games, and that is masterful. It's expertly crafted. It's so good. So good. All the characters are good. I cannot believe that this game was made after 1 and 2 sometimes. It feels completely natural, and it really feels like it's a perfect prequel.
Oh yes.
It really is. It's so good. It's so good. And we made a video on where to start with Yakuza, and we were both on the same page saying, if you play 0 before 1, you're going to enjoy 1 more.
Right.
And if you didn't play 0, and it came out after. So it's insanely good. It is a 10 out of 10. It is potentially, I'm always debating whether it's my favorite game of all time, a video game of all time or not. So it's top of the list for me.
Man, I just want to say one thing about Yakuza 0. The scene that really got me was, I think you know where I'm going with this, the scene in the woods with Nishiki and Kiryu, where Nishiki has a gun to Kiryu's head.
Yep.
That scene, and it happened pretty early in the game for what I remember. It didn't happen really late. That scene,
like chapter 4 or something.
I was already invested in the story, but seeing that, holy shit, I was 1000%. I'm like, okay, I gotta play the rest of this fucking series.
I'm having chills just talking about it, man. It's insane. Plus, if you remember, like, that moment that you just described, the ending in 1 without that moment,
right,
it's kind of weak.
Right,
but
I
with
agree.
that moment, it's strong, man. It's strong because you remember all those moments in 0, and you're like, holy shit, this is how it's gonna end. So, nah, man.
I would love to talk to somebody who played Yakuza 1 when it released, and then played Yakuza 0 after 1, after they had already played 1, and saw their reaction to Nishiki. Because we already had that attachment to him from 0. And 1, they kind of threw him, not that he wasn't important, but he was just another villain to me.
A generic one at that.
Right. So
he isn't special in 1. Without the knowledge from 0, he isn't special. Oh my god, that game's so good. I want to replay Yakuza 0 again. I'm gonna replay that on Steam Deck.
Steam Deck, my man, next month.
Yes. Yes.
Is it above Like a Dragon?
It is for me, man. It really is. Again, I'm potentially biased because I played it first as well, and it brought me to all these other games that I love so much. I mean, I'm looking at Yakuza 4 and I'm like, that game's an 8 out of 10. And it's C. So, nah, man, it's really good. It deserves its spot. It's nothing against 0, because 0 is really, really good as well. But
none of these games are bad. I will say that.
I meant Like a Dragon, sorry. But yeah, none of these games are bad.
How are you feeling about the list right here?
It's solid. I'm surprised. I didn't think this is what we would come up with. It's definitely a little bit better than what's on the thumbnail.
Just a little bit. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this conversation with me and David ranking these. If you want more tier lists in the future, let us know. I'm always up for doing like some karaoke or some shit.
We will.
Oh, that
characters tier list as well.
Yes, definitely. Sajima's going in below D.
It's not. You're going on the D, my man.
Ooh.
No, I mean, what we want to do, what I want to do, I think that's potentially a video that I should do by myself, potentially. The sub stories. I want to go crazy, and I want to like write down a quick description of all the sub stories while replaying one of the games, and then I want to rank them all for each game. I think I want to do this at some point. I'm always replaying those stupid games, so I think I'm gonna do that at some point.
I think that's
Potentially
a great
gonna start
idea.
with Judgment. The first Judgment, I think, is one of the. I think it's the RGG games with the better sub stories. But hey, I'm going to talk again. Me and my sub stories.
David loves the sub stories. Meanwhile, I'm more of a main story guy. But that's it for today's video. Any final thoughts, David, on the list?
I'm satisfied with the list. I really am. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. We'll see you guys on the next video. It won't take us as long to upload our next video, but, you know, holidays and everything kind of keeps us from doing the things that we want to do, but I had fun. Thanks, David. This is our first video together in a little while, but I'm glad
Yes,
that
sir.
we got to do it. Thank you guys. Subscribe to
Take care.
Kamurocho Bros. Like the video if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think of the tier list, what tier list we should do next.
And what's yours, too?
Exactly, definitely. We want to know your thoughts and opinions as well. We'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.
Bye.